Ritsu reached for a book, but almost fell. Masamune caught him. The guy is in love with his senpai and has been stalking him. Even recognized his name from a notebook in the library. He never believed in love at first sight, but he can't help it. He borrowed the same books as Masamune to get to know him better. This is how he lived for 3 years. Love overwhelmed him, and he made up his mind to confess his feelings to the guy. Masamune invited him to his home. Ritsu was happy. Senpai noticed how nervous the guy was. Masamune lives alone. His whole room is overflowing with books. Ritsu couldn't resist and started sniffing the guy's pillow. Masamune came into the room and they started watching a movie. Senpai asked the guy why he fell in love if they didn't know each other at all. Ritsu told him that he had been following him for a long time. Masamune said it's like being caught up in a shoujo manga storyline. He tried to kiss the guy but was pushed away. He didn't understand what they wanted him to do. Also, he saw Ritsu sniffing his pillow. He managed to kiss the guy after all. Ritsu couldn't realize what was going on. After kissing, they did you know what? Masamune said he loves him. Ritsu didn't hear it. At school, Masamune helped him study, but the guy couldn't concentrate after what happened. Senpai asked if he had any pain. Ritsu decided to step back to calm down. Masamune followed him and asked what was wrong. The guy said that was very nervous and would go home. Masamune offered to spend another night together. Ritsu didn't know what to say. Senpai kissed him. He shut the windows and said he couldn't take it anymore. Masamune once again asked why the guy had a crush on him. Ritsu thought he heard a laugh in his voice. 10 years later, Masamune woke up sleeping guy with his scream. Ritsu passed out right at work. He didn't understand why he was having this dream. Masamune said he looked very happy when slept. The guy was furious. How did it happen that they broke up in the past, and Ritsu started to hate his beloved? Hattori came home from work. Chaiki took up half his bed, but at least made him onigiri. The food was uneatable. They've been dating for a year. Hattori fell in love first. In the morning, he told the guy not to take too long to draw the manga. Chaiki couldn't find any inspiration to come up with a new character design. He decided to draw a guy who looked like Hattori. The man said he would show the sketch to Masamune. Chaiki got a call from his mom telling him to come visit at least once in a while. He didn't like that she was still worried about him, even though he is 29. Hattori told him to go visit her today. The guy offered to visit her together. The man scolded him for his cooking and said he understands why his mom is so worried about him. Chaiki said he doesn't need to learn how to cook since they will always be together. Mom met them right outside the door. She likes Hattori. She told Chaiki not to dare run away. The sister greeted the guys too. She seems to be in love with Hattori. Mom scolded son for being idle and told him to find a girl. She won't be at peace until there is someone who can take care of him. She also asked Hattori if he had a girlfriend and offered him her daughter. He said she is too good for him. The girl got upset and left. Chaiki was in a bad mood too. Hattori asked if he's jealous. Chaiki said that she's right for him, plus it's weird when two guys are dating. Hattori said he doesn't care. He loves him and won't love anyone else. He kissed the guy. The next day, Chaiki sent new characters' sketches to Masamune. Hattori saw it and called the guy. He asked why he didn't send the character he showed him. Chaiki said he didn't want to draw Hattori who would date a girl. Today is the last day for submitting manga panels, but no one has finished yet. Colleagues don't take Ritsu seriously, even though he's become responsible for manga submissions on time. Hattori supported him and asked others not to give him troubles. However, his manga artist hasn't finished either. Ritsu doesn't know what to do. Masamune said that the printing deadline was set too early, and Ritsu shouldn't have agreed to it. The editor's task is to make them wait until the last moment so that the manga artists can finish everything. Ritsu received his first manga edition. He can't wait for the sales reports. Masamune said that Ritsu's hair is a mess and suggested living together so he can always wake him up on time. The guy is trying hard to forget everything between them. In the bookstore, he met Takafumi. The man scolded him for sticking his nose into sales department affairs. He also told him to move away from Masamune. Ritsu still doesn't understand if there's anything between them. He only knows that in the past, Masamune went crazy because of the breakup, and Takafumi saved him. The new position is exhausting Ritsu. He overheard girls discussing that they saw Masamune with Takafumi at the bar yesterday. The man approached him and gave instructions on how to deal with the printing, and the manga of his author is already wanted for a second print run. The man suggested celebrating this tonight. No one has submitted the manga yet. However, negotiations on Masamune's instructions went well. The man caught him on the street and dragged out to celebrate. He advised Ritsu not to show up in the sales department area. Ritsu was troubled by a bunch of thoughts. He quickly got drunk and started acting up. Masamune kissed him. The guy asked him not to do it anymore, as Masamune has Takafumi. Ritsu considers himself just a toy. It was clear how much he envied and how painful it was for him. Masamune grabbed him and said that Ritsu was drawing wrong conclusions. He truly loves him. He knows that love is mutual and asks for a chance like before. Ritsu woke up covered in hickeys and remembered nothing. Masamune was angry at the guy's amnesia. Ritsu found it hard to stand on his feet, but continued to hope that there was nothing between them at night. It's Christmas, but the guys are swamped with work. Hattori went to beat the manga out of Chiaki. The end of the year is the most difficult in their field, and all the difficulties fall on the holidays. Suddenly the manuscripts for Hattori came. Masamune sent Ritsu to the printing house. The guy barely managed to get everything done in time. He'd already accepted that he'd done you-know-what with Masamune, even though he couldn't remember anything. As he left the office, he met Masamune and Takafumi. Masamune had left them because forgot his papers, and Takafumi had been rude to Ritsu as usual. He told not to get cocky just because the man is playing with him. The guy was sad at home in his bed, not opening the door and not answering calls. The coworkers are celebrating the end of the season. Ritsu and Masamune drove home together since they live close by. The guy wished the man a happy birthday ahead since tomorrow is a day off and apologized for not buying a gift. The man offered to go somewhere to celebrate, but Ritsu refused and ran away. He can't handle his jealousy. The next day, Masamune forcibly dragged him out of the house and took on a date. 10 years ago, they broke up just before Christmas. The man suggested they spend New Year's Eve together. Ritsu wants to please him for his birthday, but doesn't know how. He fell asleep, and when he woke up, Masamune was outside. The rain had changed to snow. The man tried to style the guy's hair. Ritsu resisted, and they kissed. The guy told him to stop and not cheat on Takafumi. Masamune said they just slept together a couple times in university. He never loved him, and they are not dating. Ritsu continued to be jealous anyway. The man yelled at him and repeated that they are just good friends. And no matter who he dated, he never forgot his first love and thought about him for all 10 years. They got in the car, remembered how they had dreamed of this day in the past, and kissed. The next day, Ritsu brought the man a gift. This was not what Masamune had expected. The coworkers, as usual, didn't want to work and didn't listen to Ritsu. Chiaki is drawing a manga. He worries about Hattori, who hardly sleeps, even though he's not in the best condition either. After the last incident, Chiaki had a fight with Yuyu. It's hard without him. Masamune brought coffee for the artists. They need to finish before 8 a.m. Unexpectedly, Yuyu came to help. Thanks to him, they made it. The friend is still upset with the guy. He went to help another mangaka. One of the girls likes Yuyu. Chiaki said the guy has no girlfriend, but forgot to add that he likes someone. Thinking about it, he begins to suspect that the guy has a crush on him. Hattori came in to say that he had successfully submitted pages and Chiaki passed out. He woke up at a man's house. The guy had a cold, was overworked and exhausted. He had been unconscious for 2 days. Even though they had been together for a year, Chiaki was still embarrassed that the man had even changed his underwear. During lunch, the guy discovered that Hattori had marked tomorrow's date on his calendar. He decided to ask where they are going tomorrow for luck. But the man said nowhere, he had work to do. Chiaki took offense and said it is more fun with Yuyu. He immediately realized he screwed up and tried to change the subject by asking who Yuyu likes. The man didn't give him an answer and left. Chiaki noticed a letter on the table and called the office. There was nothing important in it, but Masamune told the guy that Hattori had taken 2 days off to look after him. Because of that, the man now had a lot of work to do. Yuyu called Chiaki to find out his work schedule. He also said it was Hattori who called him to help and suggested that they go somewhere together. Chaiki tried to refuse, but he couldn't. At work, he suggested that they take Hattori with them. The guy got angry. He knew they were dating. Chaiki tried to change the subject and talked about the girl that was in love with the guy. He even offered to set them up on a date. Yu only got angrier and said he loves Chaiki. The guy said he likes Yu too. Hattori went in and came right out. Chaiki said he never thought they could get closer than just friends. Yu gave him time to think about it. Hattori stopped seeing the guy after that. Chaiki decided to wait for him at his house, but fell asleep. The man asked if he wanted to break up. He felt like he was dating him out of pity. The guy got angry and said that wasn't true, and he would never like another person. Hattori kissed him. Chaiki realized that he had fallen in love more than he could have imagined. At work, he asked Yu to stay friends. The guy said he would try to make him fall in love with him. Hattori came in and said he would talk to him later. Chaiki woke up. Hattori offered to take him to wash up. The man had to go to work, but he couldn't resist and kissed the guy. Chaiki woke up again and saw the note. Need to finish the storyboards. Chaiki watched TV all day. He called Yu and offered to go for a walk, but the guy has a lot of work to do. Nevertheless, he still wants to go on a trip together. After that, Chaiki called Hattori and asked him to go to the cinema tomorrow. The guy woke up thinking he was late, but there was still plenty of time. The man called him and told that he can't go today. There are problems at work. Chaiki was very upset as today was the last day of the movie he wanted to go to, so he decided to go alone, but saw a happy couple and changed his mind. On the way home, he saw Hattori talking to some woman. He remembered her. It was the man's ex-girlfriend. After that, Hattori called him and told he got off earlier, but Chaiki told him not to come and hung up on him. Yu called him for a walk and the guy said he'd come to his house. They had a drink together. Yu started drawing Chaiki and the guy told him what happened. He didn't want to believe that he was being cheated on. Hattori called Yu and told him to put Chaiki on the phone. Yu refused and told him that he loved the guy and won't give him up. After that, he jumped on Chaiki and kissed him. He said he loved him from the first time they met. He and Hattori had always hated each other. Yu offered to do you know what at least once. Chaiki punched him. Hattori stormed into the room and wanted to finish him off. The guy pulled him away. Hattori berated him for going to Yu, knowing the guy's feelings for him. Chaiki played dumb and started blaming Hattori for everything, telling him that he saw him with his ex-girlfriend. The man said she works at a manga publisher and they met for work. Chaiki apologized and said he loves him. Hattori hugged him and kissed. Few years ago, a man rushes Asaka to go to work, but the guy is lazy. Kaoru is his assistant. Asaka dreams of becoming a writer. He doesn't really like his current position. His older friend advised him to start writing something instead of just dreaming of fame. Asaka said that he has a talent for distinguishing bad books from good ones since childhood. Their conversation was interrupted by a call from Asaka's father. Kaoru's mom had worked for him, and when she passed away, the man had taken the boy into his care. Asaka was a spoiled child, but when he saw a defenseless kid, he decided to protect him from now on. He later fell in love. However, he sees that Kaoru is in love with his father. At work, colleagues discuss that Asaka's sales are better just because of his father. The guy said they should work harder instead of just talking. He's confident in his abilities, as he's done a great job selling books by an unknown author. But he still doesn't like doing publishing. He wants to become a writer and get rich. A few years ago at home, he discovered a novel written by his friend Akihiko, and said he had to send it to some publishing house. Asaka realized he could never write something like that. He's always downcast when he sees someone so talented. In fact, he realized long ago that he would never be a writer. He really wanted to see Kaoru now. At home, the man noticed that something was wrong with Asaka. Asaka was getting warmer around him. He reached out, kissed him, and laid him down, but the man pulled away. He tried to say something, but the conversation was interrupted by father's call. Asaka knocked the phone out of the man's hands and told him to be father's assistant if he likes him so much. Kaoru pinned him against the wall and said he would leave if the guy so desired. He did leave and started working as a secretary for Asaka's father. The guy thought it was for the best. He was afraid that their relationship would finally break down if he tried to keep him. After 3 weeks, he decided he needs to apologize. He wants him back at his publishing house. He's pissed off that the man just walked away. Suddenly, Kaoru was at his back. He handed him a flower and left. Isaka had given it to him as a child. The guy got a message that Kaoru had decided to move work to another city. Isaka ran to him and started fighting with him. He didn't want to let him go. Kaoru apologized and said he loves him. He decided to go far away so the guy wouldn't be inconvenienced. Isaka was shocked. He asked about his feelings for his father, but the man said that just respects him. And during the kiss, he pushed the guy away because he thought he was teasing him. Isaka called him a fool and said he has loved him all these years. He asked Kaoru to towel them off, and they kissed. Isaka always asked him for help just to be near. Now Kaoru is his personal assistant. In the elevator, they were told that the young talent Akihiko was nominated for Best Writer of the Year. Isaka has no regrets now. The weekend is over. Work's a mess because all the magazines are doing special Valentine's Day issues. The mangakas are furious because they have to change the story. Ritsu has to argue with them, but he can't convince them. Masamune said he's going to show him how to talk to them. He bluntly tells the legendary mangaka that the chapter is boring and she agrees to redo it. Suddenly, the guy got a call from some girl. She chatted sweetly with him and said she was bringing him a present. Everyone was sure it was his girlfriend. Masamune wanted to ask him about it, but Isaka intervened. As it turned out, he and Ritsu's father are friends. The man told Masamune that the boy is engaged. Ritsu was worried that his father had asked Isaka to keep an eye on him, but the man said that their friendship wouldn't affect the job in any way. The meeting went well, with Ritsu finally starting to show some character. Masamune suggested they discuss the engagement situation and his father at home. Also, he thinks the guy will become a good editor. Ritsu was still afraid that his father's influence would devalue his labors. The train stopped suddenly in the tunnel and Masamune kissed him. He wants to spend this night together. On the way, he took his hand and noticed that the guy was cheerful. There was a girl waiting for Ritsu outside the house. Her name is Anne. Masamune asked if they were dating and the girl said yes. Ritsu tried to explain, but he didn't want to leave the girl alone on the street. He brought the man some matcha and noticed that he was still wearing his coat. The guy explained that there was nothing between him and the girl. Their parents had decided for them, and they were against it. Masamune said he could tell she was in love and didn't mind at all. Ritsu said that she once confessed her love to him, but he refused. He was in love with Masamune. They kissed and moved to bed. The man asked him not to hide anything else. At work, Ritsu tried to use Masamune's method of talking to the mangaka, but the girl just hung up on him. Ritsu overslept as usual. In the hallway, he met Masamune. The neighbor asked where they work. Masamune hinted that they were call boys. Ritsu was not pleased with his antics. At the end of the workday, there would be a New Year's Eve corporate party. Ritsu's mom called and scolded him for leaving his fiancée alone. She's afraid the girl will break off the engagement. The guy said he's not going to marry her, but said he doesn't have anyone else right now. His mom asked him to walk the girl home tonight. She's gonna be at the same place they're having their party. He couldn't refuse. He hopes and doesn't think the engagement is valid, since he turned her down in school. Masamune scolded the guy for making a personal call during work hours. At the corporate party, all the girls were crazy about our men. They're all mangakas. Masamune introduced Ritsu to Chaiki. Ritsu was surprised to learn that the famous shoujo mangaka was a man. The girls surrounded the boy. He was very embarrassed, but Masamune saved him. Later, they ran into Takafumi, who started to criticize Ritsu's work. Masamune stood up for the guy and told not to accuse him of anything stupid. Ritsu got a lot of messages, but he kept getting distracted. It was finally over, and he met his fiancée. The girl was angry because he didn't answer her. She wants to marry him and loves him despite his rejection. Ritsu said he loves her too, but in a different way. The girl asked if it's because he's still in love with a guy from school. Ritsu admitted that. Masamune had been listening to their conversation the whole time, and then he intervened and told the guy to go clean up. The girl ran away. Masamune said that she couldn't stop loving Ritsu because he was too soft on her. Afterward, they drove home together. Ritsu's mom called and scolded him. Masamune asked who he was really in love with. Ritsu didn't answer and wanted to lock himself at home. He's afraid he won't be able to resist. Masamune noticed that the guy was blushing. He went inside the house with him and kissed him. He said he wouldn't let his lover disappear again, and he didn't like that Ritsu didn't open his mouth when they kissed. The boy gave in. In the morning, Masamune said it was the first time he had seen his apartment and he wanted to come again. As Ritsu was leaving, a neighbor saw them. She asked for the address of their club where she could hang out with such boys. Ku and Shouta met on the street. Shouta said he didn't sleep last night and the guy thought he was being cheated on. But Shouta was just working all night. They went straight home to do you know what? Shouta wants to enjoy the relationship, but something is bothering him. In the morning, Ku made breakfast. He's a treasure. He said a friend taught him how to do it. Shouta was a little upset to learn that the friend was a girl. They hadn't been out together for a long time and never been on a real date. It's all because of Shouta's job. The guy doesn't like that Ku never gets mad at him. He feels like his boyfriend doesn't really care about him. He tries to push those thoughts away, but the guy is too perfect for him. Nevertheless, he is very much in love and wants the guy to belong to him completely. Shouta is really confused about his own feelings. At work, Masamune told him that his manga is going to be made into anime. The guy was very excited, but he's afraid that the mangaka will refuse. Thanks to the anime, sales of the manga should increase a lot. He worked too hard and couldn't meet with Ku. The guy wasn't angry and Shouta decided he wasn't interested in him at all. In his mailbox, he found a wedding invitation. He refused to come, but his friend said there would be a party in their town after the wedding. Shouta was surprised to see the name of a girl unknown to him on the invitation. As it turned out, his friend had broken up with his ex after 10 years of relationship because of his job. This only increased the guy's anxiety. He doesn't want to lose his job or his boyfriend. They had to cross paths today since Ku has a night shift. Shouta really wanted to meet and apologize for his lack of free time. He's afraid of being alone again. The guy finished work as fast as he could, but suddenly his mangaka decided to rewrite a chapter. He wanted to call Ku to warn him about being late, but the guy didn't pick up the phone. When he finished, he ran and called his beloved. But Ku suggested to meet next time as he had to go to work. Shouta was ready to wait for him all night, but Ku said he wasn't mad. Shouta yelled that the guy better be mad and hung up. He then went to his house and waited outside. When Ku came out, a girl met him and they left together. He didn't notice his boyfriend. Shouta looked at them in despair. At work, he was very distracted. He and Ku have not spoken since that evening. The guy wrote and called him a lot, but Shouta was very offended. A woman from another office told him that she is getting married. The guy was surprised since she was always focused on work. She said it was time to think about the future. She wants to know that when she gets home, there will be someone she loves waiting for her. Shouta hopes to find someone who will be there for him no matter what. He decided to thank Ku for everything and finally break up. He doesn't want to go too far and then suffer because he was abandoned. Suddenly, Ku calls him and tells that was worried. He offered to meet and asked him what was wrong. Shouta said everything is fine. But afterwards, he advised him to spend more time with that girl and said that Ku was just a toy for him. The guy was too afraid of being abandoned. At home, he found a book he borrowed from Ku. He doesn't know how to get it back. Some guy he met at a club called him and asked to spend some time together. Shouta agreed. He only remembered him when they met. They almost kissed, but suddenly Ku appeared. He slapped Shouta and chased the guy away. Shouta said he saw him with a girl that night. Turns out it was just a friend of his. He took her to a movie for teaching him how to cook. Shouta asked why then the guy was indifferent to the fact that they couldn't see each other. Ku said that he just didn't want to bother tired guy. He even showed the movie ticket and said he wished they could meet every day. Shouta said it wouldn't work out anyway. Ku asked why the guy would dump him if he loves him, or if he's just bored with him. Shouta said Ku will meet someone and dump him, and he doesn't know anything about him. When Ku heard that, he started listing facts about himself, and at the end said that he loves him no matter what. They kissed. Shouta loves him more than anything. Work was a mess as usual, but Shouta felt inspired. He's ready to face his fears and move forward. Ku said he'd be staying with him for a week. He doesn't want to suffer anymore because he can't see the one he loves. Ritsu used to look up all the books Masamune had read. Some he liked, some he didn't. But either way, he liked feeling closer to the guy. On his way to work, Ritsu met Masamune and Takafumi. Ritsu didn't want to ride in the elevator with them, but Masamune took his bag. The guy doesn't want his personal life to bother him at work. He gets nervous even at the touch of a man. Besides, he's still jealous. When Takafumi came out, Masamune asked Ritsu to dinner, but the guy refused. Masamune dragged him into the back room and started molesting him. The man is pissed off that the guy doesn't show his love openly after all they did. He kissed him and asked to tell when he will be ready for a relationship. Takafumi came in, criticized Ritsu's work, and took Masamune away. Mom keeps urging Ritsu to call him back. He needs to deal with her and really confess his feelings to Masamune so he won't regret later. The next day it turns out that Masamune is very sick. The guy was a little upset that didn't know anything, even though they neighbors. Later he had to take some papers to Takafumi, but the man wasn't at work. Ritsu bought a lot of medicine and went to the sick man's house. He rang the doorbell and the person he saw was Takafumi. The man told the guy not to speak with Masamune outside of work. He handed over the medicine and said Masamune doesn't need his help. Takafumi really loves him and knows everything about him. He thinks Ritsu doesn't even have the right to love him. The guy got really upset and said that hates Masamune. At that moment you realize who opened the door. The next day Ritsu was very depressed. He needs to explain everything to Masamune, but doesn't know how to do it. He hopes that the man realizes that it was Takafumi who provoked him. Masamune has called and written to him, but the guy is so ashamed that can't reply. Masamune asked Takafumi what he said to Ritsu. He feels that the man is prejudiced against the guy because of his feelings. He loves Ritsu and they can't stay friends with the man if this continues. Takafumi is angry that Masamune doesn't appreciate him, that he loves someone who hurt him. Even after the rejection, he hoped Masamune would change his mind later. Masamune said he loves the guy and that's how it will always be. Takafumi decided to give up. He wants to at least keep the friendship. The man is also pissed off with Ritsu's progress. The last project he did was perfect. Masamune is looking for the guy, but he's already left. As it turns out, Ritsu left on purpose to avoid crossing paths with his beloved. It started to rain heavily. The guy decided to hide around a corner and met Masamune. The man said that talked to Takafumi and explained that he would not meet him because he loves Ritsu. As it turned out, in the past, Masamune was very depressed, not only because of the breakup, but also because he found out that his father was not his own. It also turns out that Masamune didn't even know Ritsu's real surname for 10 years, as the guy used a made-up one to avoid appearing to be a stalker. Anyway, Masamune doesn't love him because of the past. He fell in love with the current Ritsu. The guy said he loves him too, but the rains intensified dramatically and the man didn't hear the confession. Masamune took his hand and said that he can hear his heart pounding hard. He kissed the guy and they went home. They couldn't stand it and immediately did you know what? The next day Ritsu caught a cold. Takafumi became noticeably softer with the guy and praised his project. Ritsu doesn't want to give up his seat to Masamune on the train. The man doesn't understand why the guy has become so indifferent. In the past, he knew Ritsu was his stalker. Many girls were crazy about Masamune at school, but he wasn't interested in them. He often took some books to reread and always saw Ritsu's name behind his. He also saw the boy peeping at him and agreed to start dating only to destroy the image the boy had created. Masamune's parents are very sullen and hardly speak to each other. They raised him to be just as indifferent. He couldn't fall in love with anyone. Ritsu seemed to him like a child from a loving family. The boys decided to go to a cafe. As it turned out, Ritsu never ate fast food or instant food. Masamune wanted to spoil this little angel, but at the end of the day, he realized that enjoyed spending time with him. At home, his parents argued, not caring about his son's future. At school, Ritsu brought him a present. Masamune yelled at him and said he didn't understand how he could fall in love with someone without knowing anything about him. He said it was disgusting. Masamune didn't understand why he had hurt him. It started to rain, but he didn't have an umbrella. When he went out into the hallway, he saw Ritsu waiting for him with 2 umbrellas. Masamune was surprised. He was sure he had offended the guy. Ritsu was at home, but when it started to rain, came back to school with the umbrellas. Masamune wanted to take his hand, but the boy ran away. Gradually, he began to like Ritsu more and more. Having the guy around made him happy. He realized it was love.